What's up, everybody? This is John with Archer Film. The first time I was really struck with how awful modern film critique is was after Hateful Eight came out. This was a time when racism and misogyny were on every hack reviewer's list as most popular descriptors, intended to divide and conquer and label and cancel anyone they did not like or who would get them noticed for being so virtuous. Tarantino has always been a lightning rod for such harsh criticism. An easy target, as he dealt in extremes in his films. And as he put it famously in his argument against a would-be virtue signaler on TV, was violence is so much fun in movies. That's why he does it, because it's fun. Now, we can debate violence in cinema and pop culture as it affects real violence in the real world another time, but the point here is images have meaning. And critics have failed to realize this, especially younger modern critics. It was like when Once Upon a Time in Hollywood came out and Tarantino was asked why Margot Robbie didn't have more lines because she's such a great actress, implying that he's sexist or misogynist and she doesn't deserve them or whatever. And he just rejected the hypothesis. And Margot Robbie, as brilliant as she is and as clever and smart as she is, she explained that she's there to serve the character and the character is there to serve the story. That the character of Sharon Tate was more this ethereal innocence, and that's what she was supposed to portray. She didn't need a bunch of lines and interaction with people to portray that. Tarantino is much smarter than the reviewers are that ask him these stupid questions. When I first watched Hateful Eight in theaters on glorious 70mm, I was taken aback by the lush imagery, the incredible soundtrack, and the incendiary and often hilarious dialogue. I loved the stage play aesthetic and the brutal violence as is de rigueur in a Tarantino film. Now, when the negative critics came out in force, and perhaps the most negative got the most boost, as per usual in this sort of clickbait world we live in, I was kind of taken aback. Mostly because everyone whined about the N-word being bandied about so liberally and the incredible violence against women. You know, commentary which came from mostly hetero white males, I will add. One female critic explained Daisy's downfall scene in which blood of others is spattered all over her face as she kneels among all these men. She likened it to like the climax shot in a porn. She was disgusted as she believed this was a violence fetish, a violence against women fetish. You know, a moment that dehumanized Daisy as a woman, and that she, as a woman reviewer, must defend all women, even though Daisy was a ruthless murderer. Now, that, along with a comment from a friend of mine who did not see the point in the Sam Jackson forcing a white male enemy to go down on him in the snow, these two moments really crystallized the theme that Tarantino was spelling out. Now, let's not forget, Tarantino is not just some B-movie hack, but a film savant who has an encyclopedic memory for every film he's ever watched, maybe matched only by Scorsese. Now, I'll put aside the moment I busted Quentin ogling my girlfriend at the movies that one time and assume he is not a creep, but a genius. At the very least, he understands film language. Just read some of these critiques. It's exhausting to hear the almost relentless and mean-spirited comments, name-calling, spewing forth of the N-word, and more, along with Tarantino's insistence on inflicting an unfathomable amount of violence against Daisy that is likely justified in his mind by the fact that she's supposed to be a murderer here, you know? Another one from the same reviewer. It's exhausting to watch even a relatively short scene involving Major Warren and his imaginative recounting of an encounter with a certain general's son that is played out before our eyes in graphic yet horribly realized fashion. Like, who are these, children? Are you a child? Have you never seen these things? Do you not know these things exist in the world? The world is a horrible, ugly place, and it is my opinion that Tarantino, as an artist, is there to make sense of it, and that he does. You're just not smart enough to understand it. Now, as you know or should know, the opening shots and the closing shots of a great story should be bookends. They should illuminate the author's thematic intention. Notice the grand opening of Hateful Eight, a cold and unforgiving wilderness, with a giant crucifix in the foreground as the credits come up. and the carriage approaches in the background. Accident? Of course not. Religion looms large in this day and age of this film. Do not forget this. Now take the scene in which the Major recounts his sadistic interaction with General Sanford's son in the snow, humiliating him sexually rather than just kill him. What's the point? My friend asked me. Now go to the scene in which the sensitive female reviewer opined about the sexual nature of Daisy being splattered with so much blood. Well, she was right. It is of a sexual nature. It's intended to look like that. Now, the final images, as the two men who remain, both filled with hatred for one another, would rather string up the woman violently than kill each other. Their violence against a woman is there for a very real reason. Did you notice there is no talk of sexually assaulting Daisy at all? No one mentions it. No one brings it up. Amongst all these lonely men, these hateful people in the middle of nowhere, the only assault comes at the hands of one man towards another. This is the point of the film, and a meditation or indictment of religious fanatics who are so oppressed by the church or their beliefs that they would rather commit violence than risk fornicating in front of their Lord. Murder is cool in the movies. Sex is shameful. Even still, after all this PC woke nonsense, and of course, some of it is a good thing, but now we see it more and more. Bloody gore and violence gets a rated R. Full frontal nudity, well, that gets an unrated. The flaw in modern critique, and indeed with an entire generation of film watchers and keyboard warriors, is that they take everything at face value, the result of their brainwashing about identity. If you only focus on the surface, you fail to see the meaning beneath the image. The image is where the true meaning lies. Without it, you have only a facade. You have mindless entertainment, content, something to pass the time rather than make your time richer and more full of meaning and catharsis. Thanks for listening. I'll see you in the next video.